Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Season 6, Episode 5.
Welcome back, friends. Today we're sitting in Hollywood, California with a dancer, musician, choreographer, an artist, a cool human, originally a Midwest guy like myself, but he's been working out in LA for some time now. Welcome to the show, Markus Shields.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
Dude, thank you for coming over.
My pleasure.
Just met you yesterday and it was like, whoa, we should probably do a show, huh?
Yeah, and I was definitely down.
So stoked. So who are you and what are you passionate about?
My name is Markus Shields, and I'm passionate about dance and choreography, and my newest passion, though, is songwriting and music production. So I've been doing both of those, like, back and forth lately.
It's fun when, like, you've been doing something for a long time and then all of a sudden some other interest pops up. You know what I mean? Because you get in kind of like a stride where it's not like you lose enjoyment, but you're like, I've just been doing this thing a long time. The excitement kind of fades a little bit, and then something else pops up and you're like all juiced.
Right.
And sometimes when you do that, it just makes you more juiced to do the original thing you were doing too, is like all this positive. So how can people best follow you, see the things that you do, and get in contact with you?
Best follow is at Markus Shields, MarkusShields. That's on Instagram. And you can check my website out, markusshields.com. Also, my music website is thronesunknown.com. That'll be launching on Juneteenth, 2021.
Dope. So it should be out by the time this comes out, because right now season 5 is coming out, and I always record these things in full seasons before they start to roll out. So it'll be a little bit before it comes out, but that's okay. We can do some cool promo stuff when it's dropping. So to give people a perspective on who you are, this is like my understanding is you grew up in Michigan, but not in Detroit, right? You grew up somewhere else. You started dancing, but not until you were like 18, surprisingly. And you didn't really dance for a super long time before you started teaching it. So then you were teaching it. Eventually you were doing like backup dancing for artists and stuff and choreographing for other people. Now you're judging dance competitions. You're making some music stuff. I mean, you're doing a lot of different things. Can you tell me in your own words, though, like the general summary of like how you got here? Not an hour-long explanation,
right.
But summarize it so I understand.
Because I could definitely go on forever. But I'd say I started dancing when I was 18. And my sister, she told me to like hop into this Black History program that Grand Rapids Public Schools was putting on. And it was either sing in the choir or dance. And I'm like, my cousin was the choreographer, so I'm like, yeah, let's just do that. And I walked in, and I was a little bit late, and there was a bunch of girls stretching in second, like leaned over. I was like, oh, this is not gonna be that bad. But then actually like that rehearsal was like amazing, and it felt so new and like refreshing. And then I loved it. I fell in love, and I dived really deep into it, so deep that I was dancing and teaching the next year. And then I just built like a hip hop community, because that was kind of lacking in Grand Rapids at the time. So I just taught classes. I'm like really recollecting right now. I taught classes and like kind of built a following, and then other people started to do it, and it started to increase. I got a couple commercials, did it like an Amway commercial, Amtrak commercial, sorry, and then a commercial for JW Marriott too in Grand Rapids. And I felt like I was like kind of outgrowing Grand Rapids at that time. That was probably like a 8-9 year span, and then I moved to LA and took it even further. It's been going good.
I love how you're saying the first time that you get into dancing, you see all these women that are just beautiful, and then later on you're choreographing for Magic Men.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
Right.
So growing up, so Grand Rapids, Michigan, I'm wondering, like, the hip hop thing was part of the reason you were able to teach and grow a following there, because that didn't exist so much?
Yeah, I was the first person to do like a drop-in type of class, which is just, like anybody can come and just, pay whatever the teacher's charging. And then I teach for an hour and a half my own style of choreography, and that was like building a community, and like more and more people started to come. Like I remember the first time I had like maybe 6 people, and then the next week it was like dead, and then I'm like trying to figure it out, and then it just took off. Like I think met 30 people. I mean, that was a lot back then, you know, like was like one of my max numbers, like really packing the room, selling it out, you know, so it was really good.
You were only like 19, 20, right?
Yeah,
like 19, you were pretty
20,
young
21,
at that point in time.
Yeah.
How did you, because there weren't classes teaching you to get to that point, how did you then learn and progress, you know, to the point of being able to teach? Really just watching YouTube stuff or something?
No, it wasn't even that, because like YouTube wasn't even
wasn't
like
that prominent.
popping like that. So what I did, I just used to freestyle. Like I used to just put on music and like hone my craft. I just, you know, like you get like these little notions from your subconscious, some from your subconscious, like that tell you what you need to be doing. And at that time, I didn't even understand, but I listened to myself, and I felt like I needed to be doing things on my own other than training under my cousin too, you know? So I really listened to that and focused in and honed my craft and developed my own style.
How do you find the confidence to do, like people have a hard time performing in front of people as it is, right? Mm-hmm. And when you don't have a mentor that you're like, okay, I'm imitating this person to a certain degree and doing whatever, how do you gain the confidence to be like, no, I know enough to teach this class?
Well, that was the thing. I just wanted more from my cousin. He was like an older style. And I'm like, he's missing some of these beats. Like, it's like, he's like more into the grooves and like 90s style. And I wanted to bring it something new. And the confidence came from literally me listening to myself. And I mean, honestly, the people around me were really respecting what I was doing and really complimenting me a lot. So, you know, I started to record myself, and I'm like, wow, this is cool, you know? And then seeing myself do something new, but still feeling like I was good at it, I feel like boosted it. And listening to myself continuously, like, made me get that confidence for sure.
Sure. Well, and then once you like have people paying you and coming to these classes, you're like, okay, obviously I'm doing something right.
Right.
So how did you get, like, what was the first gig then beyond that? Because you said you did commercials and stuff, but like what was the timeline kind of like you doing these classes when you're like 20 before something came up where it wasn't just you teaching other people, but other people noticing and saying, okay, we're going to pay you to do something?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I had my jobs and stuff, and then, you know, like part-time jobs here and there, but I would always dance with that. And then I'd say maybe like when I was like 22, 23, I was asked to teach at college, Grand Valley State University. I'm like, wow, like I'm a professor, like a hip hop professor, you know? And then so that, building that, and then the connections through just continuously dancing and being the only person that was doing that. It's like, oh, this guy Marcus, like he can do it. Like he can do the commercial for JW. Like it's like some like big hotel tour. I had to dance like all around the JW Marriott in Grand Rapids. But it was just connecting with studio after studio and parent after parent. Eventually, like you're gonna meet somebody that like believes in you as well and can put you on the stage or on the platform you need to, you know?
No, absolutely. Yeah. That's how good networking and stuff works, right?
Sure,
it's crazy how you just eventually become that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And did you go to college?
I did actually, and I dropped out a semester before I was finished because I felt like I needed to dance. I felt like I was missing out.
And isn't that the crazy part, right? Like, because I've been asked, and I have spoke at colleges and stuff, or I shouldn't say multiple, the one in my hometown anyways, about like entrepreneurship. And that's the funny thing is like, I didn't get a degree in it. You know, I went to school for it. Mine was a little different. I wasn't that close to it, but it's the same general thing where like I was going for it, and I recognized in my mind that what I'm trying to do, I'm wasting my time being here. You know, I didn't think I was learning a whole lot of stuff that was super relevant.
Right.
And part of it was me just being like young and being like, no, I want to like, I need to get to this now, you know? So I dropped out after a year and a half, and I was doing really well. But I just figured, look, like I sell stuff. Like that's it, you know, and you're either good at selling things or you're not good at selling things. And whether or not I got an A in calculus, which I did, is completely irrelevant to whether or not this is going to work.
Right.
Taking it back a little bit before that, though, since you didn't get into dance until you were 18, what was like growing up like? What did you spend all your time doing?
Nothing. Literally, like
you weren't like in sports or anything like that?
I mean, I played sports, but I was super skinny. I played football. I love playing football, but it wasn't gonna turn into anything because I was just like, you know, a weakling back then. You know, back then I was like really, really tiny. So it wasn't like a big passion of mine. I just did it because my friends did it, you know? And then I just, other than that, I mean, just have fun, you know, like playing video games. And, you know, I did decent in school, but it wasn't anything that was drawing me toward the future. You know what I mean?
Was it something that you kind of noticed about yourself when you were growing up that was lacking? You know, like how some people, they're growing up and they're like, I don't have a best friend and I'm always searching for it. Or other people are like trying different arts and they're like, it's clear that they haven't figured it out. Was that something that was actually consciously noticeable to you leading into dance, or you were just like doing your thing?
I just, I mean, I wrote like a little bit here and there, and it wasn't, I didn't really take it that seriously. I didn't take anything that seriously. And I want to say, I think it's because like my mother died when I was 12. So then I had to, I felt like I lost something, and it was a lot of unknown in my life, you know? So just, it was hard to be passionate about anything because I felt that lack really, really deeply. So.
Do you think that trauma is what pushed you to do, because you wrote poetry, right?
Yeah.
Did you start writing that before or after?
I was like finding out that I could rhyme pretty good around the time. And then when she died, I wrote a poem for her. And my sister read it, and she's like, you need to read this at the funeral. Like, you need to, like, this is really good. Like, especially for your age, like, you need to get up there. And like, and her and my brother, I remember like yesterday, like standing behind me, I looked down at that paper, and it's just like, I just was in another world for a second and said it. And then like, I looked up and like everybody just started cheering and like really, really gave me like a big encouragement to like keep on doing that. But I couldn't find the passion for it because, you know, with the trauma that I was going through, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes when you go through that, like you start searching for where to put your energy because you need a distraction. You know what I mean? Like I went through a divorce this last year, and it was like I needed, you know, and before that there was stuff that was happening, whatever. And I was in a really like just difficult place with myself. Yeah. And I needed something that was like a distraction, you know, and that's where I poured so much energy into my show and into my artwork and stuff like that. And thankfully that was a good outlet rather than just like drinking too much or whatever. Right. And I was able to kind of grow those skills that way. What happened with poetry? Like, cause you write and stuff now, right? Cause you've been like making music and stuff. Were you kind of doing poetry all the way leading up to that? Did you just do it for a little while and it fell off entirely and you came back?
It would have to be like a big inspiration, you know, like I need to like, it would just be a notion that came to me and I'd be like, oh, I could write that down, and I'd like turn it into something, and then a month or two would go by and I really wouldn't write. But it wasn't something that I focused on like daily or like really, really tried to hone in on. It just would come to me, I'd write it down, and then I'd like forget about it or throw it away, you know, like whatever. Like that's how like little the actual like product or that I was creating meant nothing really, you know, but I definitely was finding a knack for it. And actually the thing that really got me to start writing was when I was like 17, my midterm, I wrote like this, I really like put my heart in it, and I wrote this whole midterm and this really, really dope essay. And then my English teacher failed me because she said that there's no way that I didn't plagiarize it.
Wow.
Yes. So like she said, like it was like too good for me, especially with my track record, barely caring about writing and stuff, you know? So then I really put my heart into it. And then she's like, no, it's like, this can't be from Marcus. Like you need to cite your sources. Failed me, right? So then like we came into an agreement that if I wrote strongly for the rest of the year, she'd give me credit for it. So I'm like killing it at that point. And then I was like, oh, like this is pretty easy to me, you know? And then I got my credit for the grade.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, man, flying colors over here.
So did you keep, I mean, obviously dance like took over your life, you know, there's the only way you're teaching a year into it is because you were doing that all the time. Were you still writing through that whole time frame?
Yeah, I've always been like a writer for sure. Like, but the dance took the forefront, and then I would do like a little bit of music production too, because a friend of mine rapped. But yeah, dance like took over like my focus for sure.
I like how you're saying that like inspiration kind of comes and goes, you know, with like, and that happens with everything. I'm sure that happens with choreography and stuff too. Dude, I'm almost finished with this painting. Right before I came here, I was like maybe an hour out from being finished with it. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Sometimes you end up coming back to paintings. But it's this dumb little robot thing. And the inspiration, because I always paint like little weird creatures and monsters. Yeah. The inspiration was when I was sitting in front of my fireplace and there was 2 logs like off kilter. And for whatever reason, seeing the flame between it made it feel like a mouth. And I was like, I need this. And I immediately grabbed a piece of paper and like started drawing it. And it's like way different than any other thing that I've drawn. And it's just like a dumb little piece of art of mine. But like it came from me sitting and like looking at firewood. Right. Which is like, what the But one thing I also love too with like the poetry thing, a lot of people think that you have to be one thing or another. You build yourself up to be a dancer, but that doesn't mean you can't do other things. Right. And if poetry was there and all of a sudden you're focused on dancing, poetry didn't go away. Like you can come back to it. Just because you didn't do it for 6 months at one point doesn't make you not a writer. Yeah. But you can come back and do that shit at any point in time. Yeah. Okay, so leading back up to like when you get to LA, right? So 18, you start dancing. 19, you're teaching classes. You know, 22, 23, all of a sudden you're doing all these commercials and stuff. That still leaves a little bit of a gap, right? Before you ended up moving to LA. What did you kind of do between that time frame?
Well, yeah, so you can open that up a little bit, probably to like 25, like doing like the commercials and building the scene or whatever. And then around like 25, oh gosh, actually on my 25th birthday, I was at the club, right? Having a great time, me and 2 of my best friends. We're all like good friends. We've been good friends since elementary school. I'm gonna try to make this story quick, but I walk outside, there's this bum outside, like just like boxing the air. I'm like drunk. I'm hyping him up. Yo, get him, whatever. He takes his coat off. This is winter, February 14th. Like in the winter, this bum outside just swinging. This crowd like comes around him and I'm like leading him like, yeah, get him, bro, get him. And he's like boxing. And then these 2 guys come up and was like, started talking about the bum, like, and like started like degrading him. And like everybody else in the crowd was like giving him positive energy. And like, you know, like we're super, I mean, everybody's like, it's Saturday night. And I'm like, yo, leave this guy alone, you know, whatever. And then they just wanted trouble. And my 2 friends come out and there's like, yo, y'all not gonna jump him, like, you know, leave him alone. We squashed the beef. My 2 friends walk away. And then this whole thing happened where those 2 guys like grab a gun and like chase my friend. And one of the friends does nothing at all. Like he doesn't like stand up in front of them. He doesn't like, he just like stands there and like basically is like gonna let the other friend get jumped. And then they had this big crazy argument and they fell out. They're not friends anymore from that. So that in turn, I'm like feeling like really, really torn because I'm still friends with both of them, but my 2 best friends aren't friends anymore. And that I'm like, I just felt the need to leave. Like I felt the need to really, really focus on myself in that moment because like we were building this, I mean, we were just like guys, you know, like doing a bunch of nothing together all the time. And that really made me focus on getting out of Grand Rapids. And I started to teach all over the state at that point. I started to go to Chicago to teach. And I was like, I think I taught in like Milwaukee. I taught in Ohio. I really like started to branch out and it still wasn't enough. So I'm teaching. So then I'm like, bet. I think the summer of like, when I was like 27, I'm like, okay, I'm going to teach every day this summer. Every day, no matter what, I'm teaching. I think I taught like for 2 months straight, maybe like 2 breaks. That got me to raise the money. And then I had it and I came to LA and I bounced back and forth and transitioned for about 6 months. And then I finally moved in like the end of 2014. And I've been here since then.
Wow. Yeah. So we're staying right now with our buddy, mutual friend, Miles Hass, who I was introduced to via my friend Max Menaker, aka Visual Dirt. But that's why I'm out here and that's why I met him. My understanding is, so background on Miles, he basically owns like the biggest women's, like, I don't know how you describe
male review show.
Yeah, there you go. If you think of Magic Mike, his thing is called Magic Men and has been around longer, and it's like that same general thing. Was that the first like real big gig thing that like brought you out here?
No. I didn't meet Miles until that had to be about 2 years ago. So the first big thing that happened here was I was on tour with a Latin artist, Cheyenne. And he's like Usher to Latin America. Like he's huge down there all over. So I was beating my feet like the whole first 9 months that I was here, going to every audition that I heard about, Craigslist auditions. Like I've been in like rooms like this trying to dance, like for like any kind of audition, like because I knew it was part of the purpose. And then finally got like something kind of big to go to, killed it, and that really catapulted me, like booking a tour, especially being out here for only 9 months. And yeah, my agency was like, good job. But then I did that. So that I want to say the tour with Cheyenne, a world tour on my first like really big gig was like major.
And you were backup dancing. That's what you were doing with that?
Backup dancing for,
okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
And then from there, you were working with some other like mainstream ones. You performed at like big time events and stuff, right? Can you tell me like who are some of the people you worked for from then until now, like the ones that you're kind of building up?
Right. So Cheyenne, then we got hopped off tour, and then I went on tour with Mariah Carey. That's all, and we did a residency in Vegas. And then we did a national tour with Mariah Carey.
What was meeting her like? Sorry to interrupt that.
It's all good. It's like, you'd expect her to be a diva, right? So you'd probably be disappointed if she wasn't like somewhat of a diva. Like, and she definitely is, but she's nice. Like, it's not like she's like ever been like mean to us at all. She's Mariah Carey. Like, she's written more #1 songs than anyone. So how can you not be like at that level? You're just gonna get what you get and want what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, right? People, from what I've noticed, the really successful people are almost always extremely nice. And I feel like it's like, well, that's probably part of the reason that they were so successful is because when they weren't successful yet, they were nice to everybody. And that's kind of like what helped it along.
Yeah.
When you get hired for something like Mariah Carey, does she watch your initial like whatever you call it, your
audition?
Does she watch the audition and then select the people like that?
Yeah, it was like, it got broke down into like, I think there was like 12 of us left. And then there was only going to be 8 dancers. So
then when you get selected, is that like you try to be cool and then go home and just like celebrate big time?
Well, she watched this on video. So I think I was like in the movies or something, and I got the email and I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like, look at my phone, like, wow. Like the rest of that movie, I'm just like smiling, just laughing, and it was the greatest movie I'd ever saw.
Okay, so I interrupted you, but so you did Mariah Carey. Like, what were some of the other ones?
I did a music video with like Will Smith, and I did the Grammys with the 60th Grammys with Kendrick Lamar. That was amazing. Oh, he's such a visionary too, and he came in like, I remember the first day he came in to the studio, right, and he's like, what up, fools? Like, I just start cracking up. Like, nobody else is laughing. I'm just like, damn, you like really are from like the West Coast. Like, who else says that besides you and Snoop Dogg? So that, Little Mama, Khalees, Tony Braxton, it's been really good.
Wow. What was if you had to pick like one performance that like still sticks out, which one was it?
Lip sync battle. We did lip sync battle live, and it was Michael Jackson music. So it's like I literally got to do the Smooth Criminal, like lean, like on live TV, dude. Like that was the craziest thing ever. That was the best gig ever.
Yeah, I mean, we were sitting outside, waiting to like start this podcast, and I saw you like moving your feet around. I'm like, damn, you're pretty smooth over there. You must be good at moonwalking.
Yeah, man, it comes out.
That's funny. So I'm like currently in this like weird space of like, I definitely don't live here. I'm definitely not gonna live here, but I'm kind of building a little bit of a network just by like coming out and hanging out with people and hopefully treating people the right way. It seems like I feel like I am. How did you know people when you did move here initially, or was that first 9 months just like you felt totally alone? How'd you build your network up?
Yeah, the first 9 months was like, I really didn't know many people here, or like you get here and you realize that the people that you thought you knew, like they're on their own journey, like, so I'm thinking, hey, what's up, bro? And it's like, I get no response, or, like they're like kind of blow me off, it's like nothing. So I really had to, I stayed connected with a couple friends from back home and talked to them often. That was like my comfort, my release, my social. But yeah, I had a tough time like getting to know people, but I taught too. So then I was like, that was getting easy, like, cause my students became my friends, some of those, so.
Right. So give me a perspective, because I think a lot of people don't understand how money works very well, especially Midwest folk, right?
Yeah.
They see you on TV and they're like, oh, that dude makes a lot of money. When you're doing something like backup dancing for Mariah Carey, what, like, you don't have to say the exact dollar amount that you make, but what does living situation look like? You still got a bunch of roommates? You like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What kind of space are you in?
So I've always kept my apartment, and it's a 2-bedroom apartment with the guy that produced the JW Marriott commercial. He moved out here, and it just wound up, he needed a place and I needed a roommate at the time, and we've been down since for 3 or 4 years. But I'm on tour and I'm in Vegas on a residency, so they're paying for the hotels that we stay in. They're giving us per diem. They're like, most of the food is taken care of, all of the travel is taken care of. So I go and I do those jobs, and I always come back home. Like,
sure.
It never was like a need. I mean, some people definitely, to get out here and to start, you might have to have 6 roommates in that 2-bedroom. You might have to have,
Sure.
like figure it out in that way. But as long as you don't internalize that, like that you're going to be there forever, and that that there's a goal to get your own place, or to, like to buy a house or whatever, you'll get that for sure. Like, no doubt about it. You just got to keep it in your mind,
Yeah, well, and like, I don't know, I guess it's tough, right? If you want to, you got to look at like what your goals are, really, what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
A good example is people want money, and that's not really what they want. People don't really want money. They want something that money can buy them, right? You got to figure out like, what is it that you actually want, right? People, like I say this with pro skateboarders to kids that are in my store all the time. I'm like, dude, it's not what you think. It sounds great to travel the world on tour. That sounds awesome. But how long you want to do that? Like, don't you want to have your own space? Don't you want to be home for your friends' birthdays and that type of thing? Did you at some point, is that part of the reason you went into choreography and stuff? Did you ever get burnt out traveling on that kind of, tip?
No, dude, I love to see the world. Like, I just love it so much. Costa Rica, and I got friends in Chile, like I've seen almost every major city in the US, and I still want to go. I still want to go to Europe more, and Australia, Japan. Those are things that I want to do. So I personally don't get burnt out from that, because I love to travel. But it is, sometimes it's like, no, I can't come home for Christmas because I got a gig, but that's the sacrifice that you make to become successful and to stay successful in this industry sometimes.
Which is part of the reason out here people don't have kids until they're a lot older.
Yeah,
because
true.
like you can't settle down. You don't have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like a totally different lifestyle.
We do have, I have a kid, and my kid is choreography.
Oh.
You know what I mean? No, but I really treat it, I nurture it, and I grow it in that way. So it definitely takes the place of that.
So what was the first thing that you did, like moving from backup dancing and then into choreography? Obviously, you were doing choreography to a certain degree because you're teaching people in the first place when you're teaching classes. What was the first like real choreography like job that you got?
I choreographed an eBay commercial. Yeah, man. Like literally spent like 8 hours on this commercial, working on everything, and maybe 3 seconds of that commercial got, because it was like a long commercial. It was a bunch of different facets to that. But then That 3 seconds made me happy for a week. Like seeing myself on like my stuff. Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you accomplish the next milestone to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
And then that becomes a new normal. Once you've done it a few times, you need to have something, the next level or whatever. So how did you end up meeting Miles? What, like, in getting involved in that thing?
Yeah. That's just the beauty of social media. A friend of mine who was on the Mariah Carey gig danced for Miles, right? He danced in the Magic Men show. He had went on tour with them, and I had seen stuff here and there, but it never really clicked that that's what he was doing. And then one day he called me like, yo, that video that we just did, because I missed something. So then I called him like, hey, you want to be a part of this video? I got a little vision, Me and 4 other guys did this like super sexy dance, like took our shirts off and stuff. And then Miles saw that and he's like, yo, who is this guy? Like, this is dope. Like I think he told me he watched it like 9-10 times in a row, like when he saw it. And he called me over here literally in this very room, and we had a meeting. He showed me like all about what he was doing, and he just seemed cool, like you get Miles's vibe. He's just a dope guy. So, and he told me he wanted to bring me on as a choreographer, and he wanted me to dance too, but I told him like, no, like I'll do choreography and creative direct with you. And we ironed out all the details, and it was like Dr. Dre and Eminem, like it was like Batman and Robin. It was like a really dope dynamic duo that we formed for sure.
So was that pretty much what you were doing leading all the way up to quarantine? Were you traveling around with them?
No, so they did a residency literally at a spot like right around the corner. But they did a residency there. So then we'd literally come over here, plan out the day, and go practice over there, And I would do that every week. They'd do it Saturday, and then unless I was going on tour, because I was on tour with Cheyenne again, and I did some choreography for that one too. But I would go travel, like go to Belize or Argentina, and then come back and be there on like the Saturdays and like give them notes and stuff like that.
Sure. So then all of a sudden quarantine hits, and you just like have been traveling, right? Like your life was on such a different, like totally different space that like you worked so hard to reach this, right? And then quarantine comes through and is just like
no more dance,
right? Kicks you in the back of the knee, and you're like, and you fall over. And what'd you do? What have you been doing?
I remember we were literally packing to go back to Argentina. Some of us were already packed on the way to the airport, and then we got this email saying that we needed to, like, that the trip was canceled. And then we're like hoping, like, oh, we're supposed to go to Spain in like 3 weeks. Well, hopefully it'll be over by then. And, it just lasted and lasted. So dance like slowly just stopped. It was nothing to do. And I was like drinking a lot more. I feel like everybody drank more, during quarantine. But the productive side of me was like, yo, like you need to do something. Like, and then I'm like, okay, I can just compile all the poetry that I've ever written. I found my old phones. I get on my computer. I'm like sending myself like hundreds of emails of all of the poetry that I've ever written, go through it day by day, editing, making it right, refining it. And I'm like, this could be a book. Put it in the book form, chapters, and like different books and all of this stuff. And that took up like months of my time. And then I started submitting it to poetry magazines and different agencies. And it's just really tough when you don't know how to query like a publishing company. You know what I mean? So I'm like figuring that out slowly. And then I came across a song that I had written. It was about a cookie. So I love her. Like, in addition to like writing like real songs, like I really love to write funny songs. I actually, you can find inspiration anywhere. I was literally walking to the refrigerator last night and was like, like a little midnight snack. I was like, well, that could be a song. And I repurposed Midnight Snack to be about like a girlfriend or something like that. You know what I mean? So just that. But anyway, I found a song that I wrote about like cookie in relation to like sexual experience. And I'm like, damn, this is actually pretty good. And I sang it to a couple of people, and wow, like they were like, yo, this is dope. Like this could be on the radio. And then I'm like, yeah. And then I remembered that I had this DAW. It's like a, production software on my computer. Boom, started making beats. And I'm like, damn, this is pretty good. This is pretty fun. And then so the poetry thing kind of led to me writing more. And then the music part of it, it was only a matter of time till I started writing like a bunch of songs. And now I have probably like, I want to say like 40, 45 songs written, like ready to go to the studio. And we've recorded about like 12 of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you kind of in a space of like an moment during that time frame of like, where is money going to come from? Or did you kind of have a little bit of savings and get some unemployment, like where you felt a little more comfortable? Like kind of, you know what I mean? Where were you at with that during that time?
I had a pretty good savings just because I was fortunate enough to be working, and I had the Magic Man gig. I was on tour, and I did some choreography for the tour. And in addition to all of that, I'd still teach when I got back to LA when I had the time. So I was set. I was actually looking to buy a house, and really like own some land before quarantine. And then I had like that nice savings, and I just slowly chipped away, but then I started collecting unemployment. So, it was a couple of times that I was a little bit stressed out for sure. I was, struggling and like, felt like I was like kind of going backward doing like jobs that I would never do, but it's whatever. I mean, it's a part of that grind. It's a part of the situation that's going on. So
right. Well, there's ups and downs, right?
Yeah,
and a lot of times there's things that are out of your control,
Exactly.
And it's coming back to what you said before. You have to have that end goal in mind and know you're going to get there.
Yeah.
Just because there's this storm that you didn't predict, happening doesn't mean you're not still going to get there.
Never going to predict.
Right. Exactly. So what now that like things are reopening, right? Life's like kind of normal, but not normal. But now you have all this new stuff that's coming out with music. What's gonna happen? Are you gonna immediately be going right back to dancing and traveling, or are you gonna switch your focus more on music? Like, how are you gonna spend your time?
I think I'm really focused on transitioning, and so I definitely have the dance thing, down, and that is my bread and butter. That's my money. But I am so in love with producing music and writing music nowadays that I don't feel like I could let it go. Like I really need this to be a part of my life as well. So the dance thing will definitely be here, but I'm focused on releasing music with a couple of friends that I've met and writing songs for like Usher and producing for Cheyenne instead of dancing for him,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because you could easily, right, just do music as a fun thing. But what makes you want to do it as like the next career move where there's actually money involved? Because when all of a sudden money has to be involved, now there's a lot more pressure on making it to be something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I believe in myself in a way that I just want this to be my life. I've really, really fell in love with it, and it's a goal. It became a goal, and I've actually always been saying since quarantine, like once I started putting myself behind music, like it's either whole or no. It's like I'm not gonna do something half, like Absolutely. I really want. So I feel like me being a professional in it is like the whole. Yeah.
Yes. So how humbling was it though, right? Going from something that you're like not necessarily a master, but you're successable in, right? And then all of a sudden you're jumping to something where like you don't have any more track record than like hardly anybody,
right.
Before this.
Like, I mean, not stressful, not anything. It's just it's really dope to be not good at something or like have like something more to reach for, like, and that's what's really getting me going. Like my goal when I moved here, like I wanted to be successful dancing, right? Like that's when I was like starting to transition. And then something inside me asked, well, what is success? And I'm like, well, it's living in LA, but never being here. That was like success as a dancer for me. And I literally got that like 9 months after like really, really pushing this. And I mean, I've like flown all over the world and like seen so many countries, And then I've got to see like so many cities here, teaching kids, colleges, like touching like so many lives, and those lives touching my own. So now the goal is to have like a song that I've written on the radio or a song that I produced on the radio. So that became a goal, and it's like I can't forget about it, you know? So it has to happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, well, and it's exciting, right? Because it's like with my skateboard shop, I hit 5 years, and I was like, oh, cool. I set out, like I did what I set out to do to a certain degree, right? And I'm like, this is awesome. I love what I'm doing. But I felt like the growth, like the growth curve slowed. Yeah. You know, like there's not this exponential growth of learning anymore. You're still always learning, but not nearly as fast, right? Then when all of a sudden I started doing the show, again, I'm a novice who doesn't know anything about entertainment. And then it's like, I can see my growth every month. I can see how much better everything's getting. And it's really exciting to know that, like, oh, all of a sudden I have such a huge ceiling to reach towards, and you can see you climb it. And it's like really, really exciting to do stuff like that. Just out of curiosity, I've traveled the world a little bit. I'm not like you, but I have been to Europe a couple times, Asia a couple times. And if I had to pick a city in the world to live in that I don't, currently live in, it would definitely be Barcelona. Okay. I loved it over there. The vibe, everything, the food, the water, the temperatures, like everything there, the culture, all the architecture, everything about that place is just like so cool. If I didn't have any family or anything else going on, that's where I'm going. Yeah. Of all the places you've been, which is the city that you would live if it wasn't LA?
I love Santiago, Chile, just because of the people that I've met there, and then the fact that you can literally go snowboarding and then hit the beach in like within an hour. Like it's literally like that close, you know? Like, so there I'd say, or Puerto Rico. Jeez. Yeah, I couldn't even pick, man. I love Santiago, but or New Orleans. I can't decide. I really love New Orleans. Yeah, that's like my settle down city for sure. So I'll just say that just to give you an answer. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I've been meaning to get over there for quite a while. It's just with the quarantine, I'm like, I feel like I want to go, like not necessarily Mardi Gras, but definitely when things are like popping off, I want to go.
Yeah, don't go during Mardi Gras because like, I mean, I feel like you're a chill guy. Yeah. And like Mardi Gras is like the club, but on the street. Like you're like literally like wiggling and through people, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like it's crazy. So I love that. Just the fact that you can just go from one bar to another, listen to live music. They go on break, you go across the street, there's another live band right there, you know, like that kind of vibe. And the food is,
I was just gonna say the food,
like it's so amazing.
I can't wait because I love the food even in like Georgia. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like all that soul food stuff, like the gumbo and the spice. Like, yeah, I can't wait to get out there
for sure.
So we're getting to that time of the show where I always ask the same question. And it's always my favorite question to ask. Exactly, because it's different for everybody, right? Yeah. When you pursue things that you're passionate about, usually for a living, you have really cool experiences. Totally different ones that wouldn't happen if you were just doing your regular job. A regular 9 to 5, you get excited because you have a big sale. You know, you have this big commission check. You know, you in the rankings of whatever you're doing well, or you know, you get a raise. When you do stuff that you really care about, it's not even money related, but you have all these really cool experiences. Can you share an experience with us right now, something specific that happened to you that you're really grateful for, but it only happened because you chose to pursue your passion for dance and music?
I think I'd say, honestly, and this might sound crazy, but I broke my ankle. And that lack of dance and the lack of being able to create on my feet made me write that Cookie song that I was talking about earlier. So without that, like I wouldn't have been in that, like really that lack of creativity, that need to create. And I wouldn't have wrote that song. So that has to be like one of the main things. Like, I mean, you know, like they say to look at the bright side, and that's definitely the bright side. Like I was on my bed for 6 weeks, you know, but I found a new passion because of that moment. And I can still dance. My ankle's better now. Look at me pointing my toes. So I'm feeling good now, and I can still move, but now I have like something else to work toward, and I feel like it's really beautiful.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Like I said, it's so exciting when you discover something new, especially when things are getting stale's maybe a wrong word for it, but
Definitely.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
like
get what
the
you're saying,
excitement fades, you know, and then when you have something new pop up, it's like
Right.
the world's bright again. You know what I mean? I want to know another one. Granted, this is probably just like, I don't know, maybe just because I want to know, and you're probably sick of being asked about this, but you've obviously been around a million celebrities and you've been in all these different ones. Can you share another story about just whatever, some crazy experience with anyone?
I'll give it to you real quick. I got to meet Will Smith, and we did the Fresh Prince, like that 5, like that was amazing. But most recently, actually with Miles, the Magic Man got invited to do Kylie Jenner's birthday, or it was like a friend of hers' birthday, and I mean, we set that party on fire, dude. Like, they were like throwing all kind of money at the guys, and I'm just sitting there like, wow, like I choreographed this, right? And then after it's done, Kylie Jenner walks up to me and is like, wow, you did the choreography for this? And I'm like, yeah. And she was like, it was so good. And she hugged me and she kissed me on my cheek. And I didn't wash my face. No, I'm just I never washed my face again, bro. It's like, you see, I was like broke out. No, I'm just joking. No, yeah, but that was like, I don't know, just her appreciation and like, I mean, she's beautiful. Like, work, no, I don't care about any of that. Like, she looks amazing, and the fact that she appreciated my work so much to give me that embrace and that peck on the cheek, I'll never forget that in my life.
Well, it's just such a surreal thing, you know, and that's the cool thing about people that are really successful. Like, not that she's your hero, but in general, people like that. You feel like they're this far off person, like they're just not real or whatever for some reason. And then when you meet them, and it really didn't take that much for her to do that, right? But the fact that she took that little bit means so much to you. Right. That's so cool, because I'm sure she's aware of that. Yeah, you know, when she chooses to present herself that way and you know, interact with people that way, and that's so cool in my opinion when people can be like that. Right. So we all make mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of them. We learn from those things. Hopefully you make the mistake earlier on when it's like, you know, not as big of a consequence, and not like when you're performing in front of however many people live. Can you share a story about a mistake that you made, one that taught you something, some kind of lesson that you learned from it that somebody listening right now could maybe benefit from?
I guess I could say that there was a mistake that I made of not coming out here sooner. And like, that has made me so much more get up and go, you know, like lose the procrastination. Like I could have moved, or I decided that I was going to move when I was like 25, but to wrap my head around it and to like really, really focus on what I needed to do to get out here was like a bit of a mistake, a little regret that I might have. So to go, I'd say like that thing has given me so much drive, just knowing that I could have come but didn't. So now it's like, okay, I could get up in the morning and then I can go back to sleep. No, there's daylight out there. There's production that needs to be made. There's songs that need to be written, and there's moves that need to be taught. I'm about to do it right now. You know, like that sort of thing for sure.
Well, and was a little bit part of it the whole, like, you wanted to make sure you were prepared to the right level before you did it, you know, because I feel like a lot of people, you have to be prepared to a certain degree, right? Yeah. But I feel like a lot of people, they want, you know, it's like when people want to have kids and they're like, well, when I get to this point, I'll finally have kids. You're a parent when you have the children. Right. You just have one and then you figure it out from there. Yeah. Is that a little bit going into it too? Is that you were trying to prepare like for too long and you wish you would have just jumped in?
Yeah, it was like, you know, like you make a decision, you know, or there's like a desire inside of you, and then you make a decision to bring the desire forth, right? Right. So making that like concrete decision that I'm going to do it. There was a want to come here, but to actually decide, it took me a while. So making the decision is what I'm talking about. And I mean, your life will unfold in regards to your courage, right? So the courage to just get up and do every day, that's going to make your life that much better because you're being brave. even if you're scared, even if you're doubtful, that bravery is going to show through for sure.
Absolutely. You just have to believe 100% in yourself and what you want to do and know this is going to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out a way to do it.
There's going to be a way. There's got to be a way.
So moving forward, now that people listen to Markus and they're like, damn, your dance moves are sick. I'm loving this music. How can people best support you moving forward?
You can support me by following me on Instagram and sharing my dance videos when I release those. And you can support me by looking out for Thrones Unknown. We're coming out with a bunch of songs. We just like getting everything mixed and like planning the releases. But look for that. Look for James Barmore on Spotify, Dallas Eli on Spotify, and you'll probably just be able to type in Thrones Unknown, and you'll definitely have a bunch of good music to listen to.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.